Here we are at the O2, it's Momentous Events 2016. I'm joined by Nigel from Pharma. Thank you for joining me, Nigel.
Hi Justin, good to meet you.
Now, I know about your company. You know, I've chatted to you a couple of times on the podcast. Now, it's an odd one because essentially you're not directly listed,
No, we're private. Yeah.
You're a private company, but you can get exposure to your company via ONZ Ventures,
ONZ, that's right,
ticker ONZ. Now, let's explain what N4 Pharma is about. And first of all, ONZ has taken, was it 49%?
So ONZ has taken 49% of N4 Pharma, yeah.
And you've taken 16% of ONZ.
Yeah, so I did a share swap out of N4 into ONZ, so I still own N4 through ONZ.
That's right, so ONZ is an investment company and they've invested in your company.
Yes.
All right, so I've got three guys here. None of them are shareholders in ONZ. Guys, are you shareholders? No. Do you follow ONZ on the Vox Market app? No. Okay, Nigel, it's your job to get these guys to hit the follow button on Zima, okay?
Okay.
So first and foremost, what does N4 Pharma do?
So N4 Pharma, we reformulate existing drugs. So we take the drug, we make it better, we make it safer or whoever. We do that through technologies that we have and very strong patents that we have. And the first drug that we're working off is sildenafil, which is the generic name for Viagra. So Viagra, as a drug, is a world-leading drug. It's a £1.5 billion drug in a $4 billion market, but it has a problem in that it takes an hour before it starts to work. It then only lasts around 6 hours and it's out of the system. And what you want is you want that drug to work quicker and stay in the body for longer. And that's what our patent does. Our patent allows us to reformulate it, so it will start within 15 minutes. It'll stay in the body for much, much longer, so it works far more effectively. So that in a nutshell is why that's why you reform. So a drug will have, every drug has issues once it's launched, but because it's normally on the patent, it's not a problem. Once it comes off patent, you can then take that drug and make it more effective. So we've got patents that we're filing over the next few months for a whole range of different drugs. Sildenafil is the first one. We've also just filed patents on sartans. So sartans are antihypertensive drugs to help keep blood pressure low. And we've got more that will follow. But we also have...
So I was just saying, you know, Viagra, everyone knows Viagra. Yeah. There's a few smiles from the guys there straight away. We know it's a massive drug. When it first came on the market, everyone knew about it, jokes about it, everything. But there is that inconvenience of you taking Viagra, it not being effective for several hours.
Exactly.
You could be going around Tesco's and all of a sudden you've forgotten you've taken it because you're out of the, and all of a sudden, you know, or you know, Sasha, calm down. What I'm trying to say is, Viagra went massive worldwide because it satisfied the demand, but yet it wasn't that effective. Essentially, it was it's a little bit ineffective.
Viagra is a very effective drug, but it has those problems. So if you want the drug to work, you want it to be in your bloodstream, so that when you need the drug to work, you need to perform. It has to be in the bloodstream. If you take it and you want to perform quickly and it takes an hour, you've got an issue. If you take it and after 7 or 8 hours it's out of the bloodstream, you've then got an issue. So it's a serious issue for people who have erectile dysfunction to have the amount of drug in the body that needed. And that's what our patent does. It allows you to maintain the level of dose from taking one to the whole up to 24 hours.
So you can't go home on a Saturday evening, take Viagra and hope to have a good time that evening, because basically you're in church Sunday morning looking very excited. So, you know what I'm saying?
But you know, it's a drug that works, but it has problems.
Yes,
if it wasn't a good drug, it wouldn't be a $1.5 billion drug. Right?
So
it's a very good drug, but there are still issues with the drug.
The market
is
huge.
That's what reformulation is about.
Yeah.
It's about working with those drugs that have come off patent and trying to make them clinically more effective or friendly. I used to work at Boots, and my background is in consumer product development. So what I'm really doing is taking the consumer approach to pharma. There's no point just reformulating it because you can. You need to reformulate it because there's a need. People need an improved version of that drug, so that's what we do. People need a new improved version of a hypertensive drug, so that's what we'll be looking at as well. But we also have a vaccine side to the business as well as the reformulation. Mm-hmm. The vaccine side of the business is about taking, it's a delivery system that improves the performance of oncology drugs. Now that's far more at an earlier stage, but it's the same sort of principle. We look at taking an existing molecule and making it more effective, so making it a more targeted, effective oncology drug. So that's the principle behind M4, reformulation, repositioning that drug to make it more effective.
So what I like here is that essentially reformulating, we understand this in a real world. For example, the first push bike invented was rubbish. It had no chain, it had nothing.
Yep.
And also you reformulate that, put a chain on it, proper wheels, goes faster. You know, it's better for the, and that's the kind of thing you're doing, isn't it?
And that's
you get a new patent for this, yes.
But you can't do that until the drug comes off patent. So when the drug's off patent, you can then start to reformulate it to make it improve it.
Okay, so the market is huge, you know. But if the market is so huge, and is it relatively easy to do? If not, why isn't everyone doing it?
If you're doing a new drug, it takes you about 10 to 12 years to bring a new drug to market, and it costs you maybe $1 billion, right? Because you're reformulating, you're taking all the existing data that exists from safety and toxicity. We can do it in 2 to 3 years, and it will take 2 to 3 million to get that drug to approval. That is incredibly quick and incredibly effective. So you're talking 5 million, and you're working on a product that's going to be selling 500 million. So you typically need to get 10-15% market share. So, and the market is $4.5 billion. So it's a really strong opportunity. So we look at something that's high return but low risk, and that's the most important. Whereas pharma development for 12 years is massive return but incredibly high risk. So that's why we try and switch the odds in our favour.
Questions? I'm just saying, before we start, Nigel here is not just a chancer, he does have previous form. I mean, could give a quick summary of your CV.
I used to work at Boots, so my previous background, and then our last company was Oxford Pharma Science, which is a reformulation business again. So the model was established there. They were looking at reformulating ibuprofen. That's what we started off with. Ibuprofen because it's a drug I knew very well at Boots. So I do have a very big track record in finding technologies, finding patents that allow you to actually reformulate. The most important thing is having strong patents and strong technologies, and that's what we have with both the reformulation and the vaccine business.
I've got to say as well, they're pointing out, the market cap of Enzema is under 2 million, is it?
It's about 2.5 million at the moment, but the Viagra drug, the valuation of that, if you're selling it at 500 million, we'll be getting 5-10% royalties. So we'll be bringing in 50 million royalties at peak. We earn 85% gross profit, so we're actually paying out 15% the other end. That's real cash coming in royalty terms. So if we're bringing in 30 to 40 million revenue a year, how would you value that? I'd multiply that by 10 and say that will have a value of 300 million. So
questions. Just Sasha, question.
How far are you along the road to reformulating this drug to where you like?
So we're about 12 to 18 months. Yeah, 12 to 18 months before we'll get to pre-INDA approval. In terms of other formulators, because our patent is incredibly strong and incredibly broad, people can't do it. They'll be breaching our patent. So we've got an incredibly strong patent around this reformulation of Viagra.
Viagra's coming off patent, and you've got a new patent.
We'll have a new patent on the improved version of that will last from today 20 years. So that's what makes it so attractive.
How much do you need to get you there?
To get there, you're talking about $500,000 to get you to that 18-month program, and then another 2 to 3 million to take it through clinic. We'll be striking the deal at pre-INDA with the FDA means if you go to the FDA with our data, they will say, if you do what you say you will do with the clinical study, we will guarantee you a marketing authorization for that drug. And that's when you strike your deal.
So the reformulation of Viagra is not the only drug that you have.
No, it's the first one that we're working on.
That's the most advanced.
That's the most advanced. We're going to do patents for another 7 to 8 over the next 12 months. So we have
a pipeline of drugs here.
A pipeline of drugs. And that's the most important. News flow is going to be very important. So we're trying to make sure we're not about just one. A lot of biotechs are about one drug, one opportunity. And if it works, great, and if it doesn't, you're dead. Whereas we've got a whole portfolio of products that we can keep moving through.
You're the semi-advanced pharma company in this space that's not listed, but you're a pre-IPO stage potentially where you can get access through Enzema.
But you can access us by buying Enzema. Yeah, you buy Enzema, you're buying a chunk of N4 in effect, and what we do. Yeah.
Marvellous. Guys, if you need any further convincing, Nigel, 3 summaries, please. I had N4 in my head then.
Well, 3. First thing we talked about, market cap of 2.5 million. but one product that's going to, you know, will have value, NPV value of 500 million, and we're going to get a big royalty on the back of that. Secondly, we've got loads of other products that we're working on. And thirdly, I've done it before. You know, I do know what I'm doing with the healthcare market, and I really believe in what I'm doing, and that's why I invest in myself through investing in ONZima. So I keep to try to top up ONZima because I'm investing in me.
How much do you hold?
16% of ONZima. Of ONZima, yeah.
Cash value.
Recently, last RNS came out.
Last one was 1.6p.
And what is it at the moment?
1.55.
There we are, guys. So there's the roundup and the story of N4 Pharma within ONZima. Sasha, are you following N4 Pharma by ONZima on the?
I will be adding this to my Fox Market apps for sure.
Marvelous, Matt.
I know nothing about the industry, but I'm going to look into it. I'll definitely add and look into it.
Follow.
Good.
Cool.
I'm interested to follow straight away. Yeah.
Perfect.
3-0, Nigel.
3-0,
All right.
thanks.
Well done, Nigel from N4 Pharma there.
Thank you very much, Justin. Thank you, guys.